Hello, welcome to The Living Novel, a series that we're doing here out of LTV. It's got a couple of different components to it. There's actually a book component to it that we're going to be getting to in additional episodes that'll be coming up. But the two things are with The Living Novel is we're talking about a lot of how humanity is writing and writing and writing our stories. Never before has humanity written its stories and chronicled its existence like we have now. First time man chronicled his existence, we put a hand against a wall and we kind of spit stuff there and left a handprint. First writing, and then things in the sand. But now, every single day, everybody's writing and we're looking at our stories and people are exchanging information and we're getting to do some self-analysis. Wonderfully, one of the benefits of this is a self-analysis and looking and saying, who have we been? Who are we? Who have we been? What do we like? What do we not like? There's a section of the book that you'll be looking at later with me. It's called That Went Out with the Mayan Calendar. And it's just really interesting that right now, right here, during our lifetime, the Mayan calendar ended. But more than that, I mean, of all the years that the Mayan calendar was around and all the things that it predicted and times that it covered, we went through the Industrial Revolution, where we took power and mechanisms and changed society, followed immediately by the electronic evolution, where suddenly we were taking electricity and lighting up the world. Those are two big things. And then right after that, the computer revolution, where we were recognizing there's all kinds of information and data and statistics that we'd like to be able to calculate and accumulate. And we created these mechanisms that helped us accumulate that data. And companies like IBM were created to help us accumulate data and look at how it could serve us. And now we're going through the biggest artificial intelligence, where we have actually created an entity that thinks on its own, can make decisions on its own. Computers before couldn't make decisions; they could help you make a decision. But now we've got computers and AI that can make decisions on its own. And right behind that, we had a year, 2 years of AI where it became kind of mainstream and it's getting out there and people are starting to use it. It's already obsolete. Now we've got quantum AI, and quantum AI, million times faster, much more capacity, has the ability to do things even farther deeper than we had even imagined. You've got brilliant scientists out there. David Deutsch, David Deutsch has, you listen to this guy's mind and his, the term of the day, the algorithm. Now you got the Deutsch algorithm, and you try to understand what he's going for and how he's analyzing something with his Deutsch analog algorithm, and when you start to understand it, you realize, look at this whole new world and a whole new understanding of who we are and what we are and how we got here and where we're going and what our capacity is to create ourselves and what role we are actually playing in this whole reality that we're think we're involved in. That it is much different than we thought, and different concepts are becoming difficult concepts are becoming maybe easier to understand with quantum physics and quantum AI. Some of the things that were hard for our minds to grasp. Infinity. If we looked out into space and we could see the moon, and then we could see farther, and we could see the sun, and then we could see to the end of our universe, thinking, well, that was the end of the universe. That was the end. And then we had scientists and people looking and saying, I think that's something farther, and developing mechanisms to see farther. And when we created mechanisms to see farther, we saw farther. And the more we create, the more we see. And suddenly looking at farther out and farther out and farther out, and not too long ago, it was we could see the beginning of time. The Big Bang had to have an end to it, though it's expanding, and then now it's expanding faster. We're looking at that, and that just blew up, because now, nope, not even that is holding. There's even more than we even suspected. That role that we play in consciousness and understanding, and how we're going about analyzing the information that we have, we're in a place that we're recognizing our role and reality like we've never understood before. Before we were here to understand it. And when we were came from the animals and we were sentient beings and responded to things with our smell, touch, feel, taste, then we started using our brains and started analyzing things and understood the world in a new way. And then after that, when we started to understand the world that and what things are made of and what matter is made out of, and started looking and recognizing molecules, atoms, elements, quarks, neutrinos are getting smaller and smaller into smaller elements that now are recognized. It's just all energy. And a lot of things that we're seeing that are so small, we actually can't see them, but we know that they exist. These energies that make up all of us, but we know they exist because they kind of leave a trail. And then there was this wonderful discovery that that when we look at something, it becomes stimulated. When we look away, it becomes dormant. There's the effect that the observer has on the observed, and that the observed becomes more real by the energy that the observer is giving to it. That's an interesting thing. So we are actually recognizing we're part of the creation of everything we see. These are kind of complex issues, but sometimes you can look at it and say, well, actually, it's starting to make sense. And what God and religion were at odds, and science were at odds with each other before, is now all becoming one. We're all becoming a recognition that everything is this divine imagination, this energy that we are all manifesting. And some of my own feelings that we are going to be discovering now is that just 15 years ago, I was going to seminars with the Dalai Lama and Neil Donald Walsh with Conversations with God and Deepak Chopra and learning things. And then we became recognizing that, I'm not a human being that's been having a spiritual experience. Then it became, I'm a spiritual being that's having a human experience. And that was a novelty. Now it's kind of like the norm. We all get it. We are spiritual beings in the midst of a human experience. We are an energy that individuates into who we are as humans and how we express ourselves. And then we're recognizing the interconnectivity of all of us, and that everything we see is somehow a reflection of our own consciousness. And then there's quantum physics that is saying, there's something that's so far away that when something happens here, it's affecting something so far over there, and no one knows how. Einstein called that spooky energy. But the things that we're discovering now, and the way we're looking at ourselves, we are so fastly moving to a new understanding of ourselves, and some of those things that we had a hard time grasping when we started looking at the universe, and the universe. Well, after the Big Bang, it ended there. But no, what went beyond there? And now we look beyond there, and we found more beyond there. And now we look beyond there, and we found even more beyond there. And the thought of it never ending, that there is no end when you're going up and out, and then the same recognition that there is no ending. This is a little harder to understand, that there is no ending in getting small. When I mentioned, we looked at what elements were, and molecules were atoms, and atoms were quarks and neutrinos and subatomic particles. We got all kinds of names for the smaller and smaller, but that everything that can be divided in half, however small it is, it can be divided in half. If it's something that exists, you can divide it in half. If you can divide it in half, you can take one of those halves and you can divide that in half. And that half could be another half. And then pretty soon, half and half and half and half, and you realize, oh no, it just keeps going. It goes into infinity in both directions. In both directions, infinity exists, and we're some magical place in the middle trying to figure it out, and who we are and what we're doing in the middle of it. AI is helping us with a lot of understanding and coming up to conclusions. It's a tool that's being developed, that has been developed by us, for us, to help us understand things better. But it's creating a lot of fears for people. A lot of people are worried about AI and what happens if AI decides that it's smarter and doesn't need us, and it's a superior being than we are, and renders us inferior as a being. That's a big concern out there. Is AI going to render us an inferior being that will become obsolete and get rid of us? I have all kinds of reasons why that's not going to happen. Pardon me. Water, it's great stuff, but it's all imaginary. So, what was that in the Matrix? And the Matrix that they go into the whole thing is not real. But anyway, so AI. A lot of people are really worried about AI out there, and thinking, oh, what if we can't control it? The three big concerns, especially for people like me in the entertainment industry, where intellectual property is a concern, creation of what you're doing is something you want to protect. I have an imagination. I write something down. I create something. It's mine. I've done it. I like to offer it to the universe and everybody else, but recognition as mine. And if I can get paid for it, great. So we'd like to keep it that way. People who create music, I talked about in our last episode about music being magical to me. I just think music is a form of magic and what happens with it. But someone writes a lyric, and then Alan Thicke Jr. Does that song by Marvin Gaye, and the rhythm is the same, and suddenly now there's a human that picked up on a kind of a beat or something, and it was in his subconscious. Did he deliberately rip it off? But the Marvin Gaye's family sued him, and he had to pay. So there was a place for intellectual property. Did he do it deliberately? Did he not? The creative process. That's a tough one. But with AI, the three concerns, the three C's. One is control. How do you control AI from finding out all information and making sure that the information it finds out when it's out there searching, there's a concern that what happens if it grabs a whole bunch of information that it finds that happens to be erroneous, and it doesn't know how to determine whether this is honest and true or whether it's false. So AI could actually be getting false information, not being able to distinguish whether it's false or not, because it's representing itself like every other bit of information it's getting, and incorporated and delivering us answers that could be questionable. So there's concerns like that, but the big one is the controlling AI, and then consent. If AI goes out and is searching for something, and when said, give us a Beatles song, write a song like the Beatles, and AI came back with a song just like the Beatles, you would listen to it and say, oh my, it's a Beatles song, like the never before found tapes of the early Beatles days. They thought it was fine, but it wasn't the Beatles at all. It was AI. So if they're copying the Beatles, is that a copyright infringement? Is it intellectual property, right? So control, consent, and then compensation, the three C's. You're worried about control, you're worried about consent, and then compensation. If AI takes something from someplace that is somebody else's intellectual property, it goes, oh, this is great, this will work, and puts it in there. How are we making sure that wherever it took that information from is going to get compensated for it? So AI has some of those practical considerations now. But then there's other things that people are worried about AI taking over and eliminating things for us. So it's taking over a lot of the thought processes and helping us think, and being used as a tool to help us think greater, farther, faster, and deeper. And that's valuable. And we created AI. AI, the questions that for people, if they're worried about it, there's certain things like the feeling of love, the feeling of compassion, the experience of lust, that we as sentient beings love. When we experience lust, is AI going to experience something like that? My first instinct is, oh no, they can't. And then you think, well, wait a minute, at some point AI is going to figure out, well, lust is a brain wave, and then they can calculate the brain wave, and then suddenly AI is going to experience lust. So it's crazy when you're thinking about this stuff, but look at where it's going. So, but for us, right now, we, in addition to experiencing things that, as far as we know now, AI is not experiencing lust, that we all, when we get those moments, incredibly meaningful to us. Is it experiencing love, which is one of the greatest experiences we have? Is it going to feel that, or is it just kind of a cold, just a facts man like Dr. Spock on Star Trek? I don't know, but it is advancing quickly, and now AI and Chat GBT 3. What it was 2 days later, it was Chat GBT 4, and now 5, and now that's actually now even that in the course of 4 months became obsolete because now quantum AI is being taking over everything, and you have to go there if you want to stay ahead of it. But for us, for people who are worried about AI, um, I just have this desire to put everyone's mind at rest. We are the creators of AI, and as its creator, it's not going to create away from us and make us obsolete. Something that is going to be maybe a controversial thought. I mentioned before about us recognizing we're spiritual beings in the midst of a human experience. Well, AI and what it's doing, and us being sentient beings, when we recognize that we are just an energy that is kind of condensed and focused and individuated to create something that can be identified in the world of the relative, where there's this as opposed to that. I have a guest here. We're going to bring him in a minute. Matt Galcik, we love him. I call him the Pied Piper of good deed doing. So I want to get to him quickly. But so there's Matt, and now I can see him, this wonderful individual. And you look at me, and we're individuations of this energy, but we're all of the same kind of energy. But this, while we're recognizing we're part of this energy, there is a recognition that I'm bringing out and talking to people about, and saying, I don't believe anymore that discovery exists. I don't think that there's any such thing as discovery. I don't think that we discover anything. I think we exist at that moment of creation, and that we are that part of God that is manifesting something and creating it through and with us. That we are that part of God that at that moment, like when AI would take all kinds of information and come up with a conclusion, that God of my imagination, that has no gender to it, but is this all-knowing energy, that when it's being able to take some information here and take some information there and information here, and then scientists are taking a look at something or trying to come up with an answer that makes sense to us of something that did not exist before, and they suddenly come up with this theory of DNA, and it fits. And all of a sudden, you look at all of its applications, and the more it can be applied, the more it fits and works, the more real it becomes. And it didn't really exist before. We created DNA at that moment. We didn't discover it. We were part of its creation. A lot of places you could say, well, that's kind of easy to understand. You could say, well, yeah, we figured this stuff out, and in our figuring this stuff out, it became real and became part of our consciousness, and then became more real because of the way we were thinking about it. I had a conversation, I spoke at a seminar called Time to Evolve, and the question was posed to me, oh yeah, okay, yeah, well then how do you explain when archaeologists, or when people find dinosaur bones? So they existed for a really long time. So you must have discovered. How do you reconcile that, Greg? The dinosaur bones. Well, you know something, we had this idea about dinosaur bones, and when you look at these guys and they're out there and they're digging up things and digging up things, and they're hoping to find this and they're hoping to find that, and that desire to find something and the way it can formulate in front of them, I believe that we are creating the past as much as we're creating the future. We're creating our entire story from beginning to end. We're creating the past. The past is always changing. No matter every place you look at the past, we're finding, oh, it's changing. We're finding out more about what happened, and then the past is changing. So I think we're creating all of it at the same time. And for those of us who believe in the teachings of Jesus, what do you think Jesus was telling you? What do you think the lessons of the loaves and fishes was? It's in that belief, and in the Bible, Matthew 11:14, where it's like where he says, look upon this mountain. and say, and cast thou down to the sea, and believe completely in your heart and have no doubt that what you say will come to pass. If you do that, so shall it be. And it says it right there in the Bible about casting out of the mountain, be gone, cast down to the sea. Talks about it in the Bible. So I believe that these things are all being kind of put together and kind of understood by us, and that we're part of this magnificent creation, and we're playing much bigger a role in it than we thought. And when we think we're discovering something, at that moment, it's actually we're a part of creating it, and we're part of putting it together. And that's, again, going back to Deutsch and David Deutsch's algorithm, and looking and with quantum AI and the way he's looking at it, it kind of fits with the Deutsch algorithm. So we can talk about that in another episode. But anyway, so looking at that, I don't think anybody out there who's really worried about AI, I don't think you need to. It's not going to go anywhere. We are the part of the creation of it. And when it goes and does something that we are not happy with, we are going to create it differently, and already have. But we'll get back to that another time, because that's part of what we talk here about the living novel. And right now, I want to get back to a wonderful, wonderful guy. One of the first people that I met after I moved out to Montauk, we're working out in the gym, and it seems like a nice guy, comes over, is talking to me, and suddenly it's like, wow, this is a really nice guy. And I call him the Pied Piper of good deed doing, Matt Galcik. Everybody, I want you to meet a really wonderful, sterling individual, Matt Galcik. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Greg, how you doing, buddy?
Good. And you were worried that you're going to have to talk for an hour.
Oh my God! Can you repeat everything you just said?
No, I don't even remember what I just said.
But you brought up a lot of good points, Greg. Do you think that we're getting smarter as years go by, or are we not using our brains as much because of AI?
Oh, that's an interesting one. The thought of us not having to apply our brains the way we've had to come to where we are, and a lot of that process being taken away from us.
Exactly.
What's going to happen with that? And that you think, okay, let's try to play that through. Let's think that through. Okay, now we're going to just have AI answering. I talk to Siri. I get what I need from Siri, and so it's eliminating our need to think certain things, but at the same time, it's elevating us to a higher level, more complex, or maybe more fundamental level of thought that we didn't know existed, and things that we didn't know before. Now, the knowing of which changes everything. So I think that we are understanding and creating new ways of thinking. So the role we play may not be whether it's intellectually smart or not so smart, but I think the tools that we're creating are allowing us to be much more creative, that our thoughts, that I think we're getting smarter because we're able to be more creative. To answer that, the complicated question, I think we are getting smarter because our creativity is being freed now to be more creative than it ever had before, because we had these limitations of ignorance. But now that we have these tools to help us find answers, I think it's going to create a more interesting world and more creative world for us, but a very different world.
What about the kids in school, though? If
Oh,
they're going to
that's
do homework,
terrible. Yeah.
they're going to say, I don't have to read a book. I don't have to do this. I'll just go to AI. All the information's there. Instead of them learning how to think, how to rationalize, and that's what I'm afraid about.
Listen, you're touching home with that topic for me. The fact that they're taking penmanship and learning how to write,
The basics.
and that, so it means that we would be dependent on technology. And what happens if there's a fuse blown and now someone can't communicate in the way we've learned how to by writing to each other, and that's going out of the schools? And the fact that our school system, our education system, what are we, like 52 in the world for education, which is incredibly shameful for our country. But yeah, what they're teaching in schools, and the use, the value of what they're teaching. No, I'm with you with that. Our education system and what we teach, and I don't think we're making kids smarter.
I don't think so at all.
No.
And you said, what if a fuse blows? There was a twilight zone when the lights went out on Elm Street or something.
Yeah.
The Martians were turning off the lights in people's houses. and they started panicking and freaking out. And they went back to their primordial brains of survival. All technology,
Oh, yeah?
all their ways of thinking went out the window. Now it's survival, like that. Remember the 70s, like the blackouts in Manhattan?
Yeah,
What happened? People went crazy.
yeah.
They went wild. If AI takes over everything, right? They're running the show. We don't have to do anything. If something goes wrong, we would be basically helpless. What about the nuclear power plants, right? What about the doctor's offices? What if AI gets into the doctor's office and says, I don't like this. This is wrong. Let's change this. All these different little scenarios. So you're right about it. AI will have too much power, too much.
Well, that's why I'm kind of glad it's becoming obsolete fast and we're moving past it because yeah, it's a great tool, but it's
It's
inadequate.
a tool.
Yeah, it's inadequate and not as uh, uh, not as trustworthy as we really would thought it would be.
So we shouldn't rely on it too much.
No, we can't rely on it. At the same time, listen to me. But I'm using it all the time, and it's doing all kinds of great things for me. On my WordPress site, I was speaking to experts on WordPress, and there's something I want to do, taking a page off and being able to put it out and market it, and so people can look at the actual page. But when they go into it, there's a menu, and I don't want them to be able to get into the menu and go in the back door and get into the rest of the book. So it seems like a simple thing. Nobody could figure it out. I asked AI, boom, said, "Oh, do this, this, and this," and it worked. So I'm like, I've got experts at GoDaddy and WordPress guys that I'm spending extra money on. They couldn't figure it out, couldn't do it. AI in a second.
So you don't need those people anymore, do you?
No, so their job now. So they're like, I don't need to pay them either. So that's another thing. So what happens to the currency and the flow of money and our value
What
as
about the
consumers?
communication of person to a person? We're not even gonna have that anymore. This is what we're gonna use, this right here, right?
Yeah,
Go into this, it's gonna do everything for you.
yeah.
Hey, it could turn on your washer and dryer, and your lights in the house already, right? Cars that can basically drive themselves.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, so then what do we become in this world then? And first it can be frightening because fear of losing something
Control.
is that and control. But then what if it frees us to a whole new experience that is much brighter and much more enjoyable? There's a lot of hardship. There's a lot of strife and distress, and depression. And what if we come to a place with some of these answers that alleviate that and allow us to experience things in a much better way that we never knew we could before because we didn't know enough. So I look at a brighter side and say, nope, there's going to be an answer in there that's going to make it better for us, and because we're still the ones creating it to work for us. I believe that's the way it's going to go. But we got to be careful, don't be complacent and just say, oh, well, just trust it. We have to be active in the creation of these tools that we're putting out there.
We got trouble now with the kids online. They're being brainwashed, right? People putting their hearts out there, making themselves vulnerable. Maybe though it's good because technology, a person that's shy or afraid to talk to other people, he could go on there and now like he has communication with others. Now he doesn't have that sheltered life or afraid. So technology is good in a way, but if it gets a hold of you, it's gonna get a hold of you.
Yeah,
Then what do we do? Who's controlling it?
yeah,
Is it controlling itself? Or different countries, corporations, businesses?
yeah. And that unfortunate thing about human nature and our tendency to want to take from others and have something better for ourselves than we'd want for others, with the concern with TikTok. And I said that in the beginning, I'm kind of one of these nuts that actually enjoys reading the terms and conditions and saying, look at all these terms and conditions, and watching them evolve over the years. And I remember when Facebook came in with Messenger, and it was the first time I'd seen, I'm reading this thing, and I've got my social media following that has I've got like 40,000 people in Bayside following me over there, but and I'm kind of want to be responsible for it, and I'm looking at everyone's starting to go to Messenger, and I read the terms and conditions, and like, whoa, wait a minute, this says that they have the right to listen to your microphone and look at both your cameras, the one at you and the one looking back, and at any time they want, without even consulting you, without you even knowing.
And what if they have your checkbook right there?
That your checkbook, everything. And I'm looking at that and saying, wait, that is incredibly invasive. And then the argument was, look, that's for terrorism. They're doing that so they can find terrorism. They're not going to be looking at us. And then I've got there's a lawyer in Bayside. She wrote this thing. She said, did you ever notice? And she's a very bright woman. Very bright woman. She said, I noticed this thing. Now, I didn't go do a Google search. We know if you go do a Google search and it shows that you're looking for something, you're likely going to get a lot of ads that come for that. You're looking for diapers, you're looking for cars, suddenly you're going to see all these car ads or diaper ads. So that seemed pretty simple. But she said, I wasn't even looking for anything. I was just talking to somebody in the room and suddenly I had all these ads show up. And I said, get it? So that's what Messenger does. It's listening to you and it's hearing you. And what it does is it's not a person listening, I'm not listening to Matt Galcik. No, it's a bot listening for keywords. And as soon as it does, it turns voice to text, takes the keyword, finds out what it wants, and then sends you those just because it was listening to you. So it's a marketing tool, but it's a statistic gathering, harvesting tool to be able to listen to what people say and turn it into text and then sell them products with it. But you looked at what that was. So when I started looking at that, I said, I'm sorry, I do not want that invasion. I didn't think now that they're looking at me to find out stuff and they're looking at trying to sell me something. So I still saw the purpose in it being a sales process, trying to merchandise something and find out who wants to buy it.
Yeah, but don't we have a Fourth Amendment? Right? You need a search warrant to go in and talk to somebody or place a camera, watch somebody. Yet these phones here are doing it right around the Constitution.
You can walk into a shopping mall, and the sensors can pick up and see, look who walked in, this is what they're doing, and this is what they want. And then with the Chinese, with their facial recognition, they're learning everything about everyone. And now, even with the gait of your walk, they can identify this person with that. Here are these particulars, and now we know it's this person. They know that's what you like. But TikTok, when I read I advised everyone, don't use Messenger. You don't need it. I can text people when I want. I can email them. I can do this. What do I need to go through Facebook? I don't need it. So I never adopted Messenger when I read that, but so many people did. But TikTok, I read it, and it actually said, I'm reading this thing, and it said it allows them to monitor your every keystroke. So it's not just what you're saying, but every key that you tap, it's monitoring it. So log into your Chase bank account and put in your keystroke. You've just given them your password. You've given them everything. So how many times have well, you don't. You check into your bank account. Does it tell you how many times that day you checked into your bank account? If anybody else is checking into the bank account without people knowing, without the country knowing, TikTok gives the Chinese the ability to look at everyone's bank account because they have the passwords, usernames, and passwords, because you're giving them your keystrokes, you're giving them all that, and they can look at everyone's bank account and they say, the American economy is going up, the middle class is going down. They have information about our strengths and our weaknesses that we never would have imagined.
So why are some people, Greg, out there saying, well, we should leave it alone?
Because they're stupid. But luckily, finally, the government stepping in, and it was a while ago that it was recognized, and it became illegal for first responders, and became for political officials to have TikTok. So they did that a while ago. Thank God for that. But now the legislation is TikTok. They're just banning it everywhere. Well, they're trying to make it. This is another false sense of security. They're trying to sell TikTok and say you've got to divest yourself of TikTok and let another company run it. You know something? Okay, so you're going to hand it to somebody else. Like they're not going to be doing the same thing, or they're not going to be still collaborating with the higher power someplace. It's still going to be a dangerous tool. I still wish everybody would not use it. And besides the vulnerability that TikTok creates for us with our information, and which is a threat to our national security, there's also just the thing that it does to our brains, the shortening of the attention span. TikTok is driven by shorter attention span. So you're so stimulated, you're looking at this and looking at that till you're like addicted. You can't look away from it. I still have that on Facebook, and I still have that on
It's
Instagram.
brainwashing you.
Yeah, it's brainwashing.
Subliminal messages,
Yeah.
little short things
Yeah.
that are going in, and you don't even realize it's happening. They're actually controlling you, and you don't even know it, do you?
How easy, Matt, you have an aptitude for understatement. Because they are controlling you. When all the things. Okay, I have like pet peeves, and it's in the book thing about place for pet peeves under that one out with the Mayan calendar, things that we need to look at. When suddenly Facebook's been such a great tool, but now all of us start to hate it, but I'm still using it, and it's still a great value to me. And you look at my Facebook page, and it kind of tells a story.
Do you hate it because something new came along?
Well, no, I hate it because so with oh, I lost my train of thought. So no, with no, I wish something new would come along, but with Facebook, oh God, what was I about to say with Facebook?
Yeah, we'll pick something else up.
Well, anyway.
It's such a great, happy topic we're on here right now, isn't it? I'm sure
Gloom and
everybody
doom.
loves it.
We're on the gloom and
Let's
doom.
talk
The
garbage.
worst
Let's talk
world is
garbage,
ending
Greg.
because of Facebook and everything else. But the way I would use Facebook and presented myself, and it had some value. But now I don't want to have that. I can't get rid of it. But at the same time, the stuff that it sees and it continues to stay with me, it's like creepy. It's like a virus that's on me, and I want to get it off.
How
But
come
I
it
still
doesn't
have to use it.
bother
Yeah.
other people, How come some people say, it's okay, it's okay? Is it just that they're so conditioned to it now, like, hey, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen?
Well, okay, and I remembered what I was about to say. So with TikTok, I know with Facebook, I'm watching this stuff, and I do have a tech background from the University of Southern California, working in the Steven Spielberg and George Lucas funded Entertainment Technology Center, where we developed internet technologies for film industry use. It was a great period for me. I got so into it, learned C++ and Perl scripting, and it actually goes back to DOS, but I got really into computer technologies and looking at stuff, and then you start to watch changes, and you go, what is that change all about? And with Facebook, you posted a story, and people could comment. And oh, great. And then the comments, suddenly this thing was instituted in the comment section that became more relevant, newer, or older. More relevant. Who am I allowed to question? Who the fuck is you tell me what's relevant? I have people that are posting stuff to me, and you're going to determine which is more relevant. So and then talk about how easily we are swayed by that. You have so I've maxed out on the amount of friends that I can have. So I had to switch over to the other format. So I got 7,000 something. But when I go on to my Facebook page, how many of all these people am I seeing their stuff of? 20?
Yeah.
So I was like, so how come I'm not seeing all of these 6,000 people that are following me and posting stuff, and how come I'm not seeing all of them?
Who's deciding?
And how easy it is for them to say, if all of our friends are voting for Republican, or all of our friends that we're hearing are voting for Democrat, you would tend to go with your friends. Pretty simple, human nature. But so all they have to do is take the people that are your friends that are talking about Republicans and not have them as easy for you to access unless you go to their page and click and say, how's David doing? Oh, look, he's voting Republican, or so-and-so's voting independent. Unless you go to their page, it's so easy for us to be manipulated and swayed politically and that's just not with a political party, it's with any view we would have about anything. So it is such a manipulative tool.
How do you make people aware of this, though? Or do they care?
And do they care? No one seems to care about TikTok. I kept telling everybody, don't use TikTok. This is a threat to your national security. Oh, but you got to be on TikTok. And also, I don't believe their friggin' numbers. Oh, you put something on TikTok, you got 2 million people instantly. You know something?
Do they do it for ads? For ad money? Is that why they do it?
Ad money, but also it's harvesting data and
But the people that get this data, like a medical company or an insurance company, like you said before, somebody walking with a gate.
Yeah,
Hey, look at this guy with the gate. What's his name?
yep,
We're gonna watch out for him. We're not gonna insure him. Here's where the problems come.
absolutely. They say who's a higher risk of this and that, we won't insure them. When the Chinese, so Chinese, if you're out there, you're welcome to listen to me, because I'm not real happy with you guys. We're all one as, in this universe, and stuff that you guys are doing is threatening. And
Not the people.
not the people, but the government, yes.
That's the big.
So
thing.
yes, oh yeah, in America, and my Chinese friends here, but it's the Chinese government and what they're doing as a government, as a country, and the way it's kind of invading us technologically. I look at that stuff and I'm saying, this is really kind of scary. And I do think that we are already in an, oh, this is gonna be really,
We're
this
in
is
a
a bright
war.
cheerful
Listen,
thing,
we're
where
at
we're in the
war.
Third World War.
We're in war already.
Yeah,
They're not gonna
yeah,
send over armies after us. They're gonna get to us through technology. And we're just saying, come on,
yeah.
take me.
So it's now we are in an undeclared World War III, and the way that we are being invaded, everybody talks about all the immigrants coming in, and then they talk about, well, the Democrats, they're screwing it up, and Biden's screwing it up, and they're not. Nobody is going saying, how come? Who's inciting all these people to be coming this way? Who's on that other end saying, go up to America, go up to America? They are, it's our adversaries that are pumping these people up here to drain, to put a burden on our economy and weaken us.
Well, who's-
And while Putin's going over there and invading the Ukraine, the more that they can weaken us economically at home, every way they can, it's better for him to be able to do what he's doing. A new Hitler over there, but we didn't have the same kind of technologies or abilities then or understandings of it. So this whole big immigration thing, I'm not blaming it on Biden or Trump or anybody. It's an invasion from a foreign adversary that with the purpose of weakening, putting a strain, burden on our economy and weakening us. And that's just one of the way they're attacking us. So it's hard for me to get off of that topic.
But with TikTok, they know everything about you now.
Yeah.
They know which way you sway, if you can be manipulated, if we could get to you, give you false information, and then you spread it out. They will use us to spread out false information.
Yeah, yeah, they put it out, fake news, that they're.
Fake news is all over with everywhere, you know that.
I had to, whether you like Trump or not, I worked for Trump back from 1991 to 94, and it was when we all liked Trump, and I did well with Trump, and I made a lot of money, didn't get fired, and he liked me because I was from New York, a New Yorker out in L.A. So I like you, you're doing a good job here, and I liked him, and I still like him to a certain degree, but there's other things I don't. But anyway, but Trump and and his approach to things and the things that he's saying now, it's like, I don't know that, and the things with Biden, and I'm looking, it's like, this is the
Who
people
do we
we have.
trust, Greg?
Huh?
Who do we trust for the real information? Remember you'd pick up a newspaper
Yeah.
and it was true. You turn on
He
Walter
called it with fake
Cronkite.
news. You had to hand it to him. You had to hand it to Trump. He called it fake news. And me coming from a news background, say, oh, look, he's attacking my alma mater, CBS News. We're not fake. And 60 Minutes. I come from 60. My background, my first job was putting a microphone on Walter Cronkite. I was like 19, 21 years old. So I come from that background. So when you start to attack news, you're attacking the integrity. But no, you have to admit, he called it and he was right. All the news that's being fed to us now is manipulated or colored in one way or another. So you had to hand it to Trump for calling fake news what it is. So then you're right. So who do you trust now? Where do we
Isn't
go?
it a shame? You used to be able to put the TV on and get news, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah.
This is the way it is.
Yeah.
But even back then, I think with the Vietnam War, a lot of things were not told properly to the news. Like maybe we were losing a lot of guys, or maybe we shouldn't be there. So maybe somebody told the CBS, NBC, don't go in that direction. So I think manipulation was probably going on for years.
Oh, sure.
But now it's who can get the highest ratings. They do not
Yeah.
care about the news, all sides, not just one, all sides. They don't care about the real news. Am I getting advertisement money? And that's the shame of it. People are being cheated. That's the way I feel. You want to hear something on TV, You don't know whether to believe it. How do you sleep at night saying, is this real or not?
Well,
And you were talking about AI and technology and we're getting smarter. I don't think so.
well, AI is getting smarter, but I said I think it's going to make a change that may not be harmful to us, may free us to have a different kind of experience that still would not have us lose our own autonomy. I don't think AI is going to come in and suddenly enslave
But
us.
who's gonna control AI?
Well, that's the control, consent, and compensation. But listen, we're not here to bring you down and to make you and to bring some doom and gloom into your life. I actually have this gentleman here because this is a bright, cheerful, wonderful contributor to our community, articulate, and we have these great topics that we could go on. But I brought him here because I call Matt the Pied Piper of good deed doers. Every time I turn around, this guy in this town in Montauk is doing something benefiting the community that nobody else is doing. And as much as I've been able to, when I can, I've joined him. Sometimes I've gone over and actually just videoed stuff that he's done. But Matt's out there getting people together to help clean the sides of the highway, to clean over by the beaches, stuff that nobody else is doing, and the garbage. I mean, and bringing bringing awareness that nobody else is paying attention to. I don't know anybody else who's complaining about that soot coming off the bus. This gentleman's like, hey, this isn't good. This is really filthy. And so everywhere he's going, he's making a positive contribution to our community, to our neighborhood, and improving the quality of our life in his own way. And I love him for that. And every time I get to join you with something, but very humble, doesn't want to be talked about too much, but tough. You're really a great human being, Matt. You're just a wonderful human being. I admire you. I like you a lot. And over the years of watching you, I've never seen you do anything else but something really good for somebody else.
When you have the ability to make change for the good, that's when you gotta do it. Like with the buses, spewing out all that, carbon dioxide there, carbon monoxide. And I worked in a bus depot. I worked for the city for 35 years. We would never allow buses like that outside the depot. And yet they got them running through Montauk, East Hampton, and nobody complains. And I don't know why. It's just that they don't care anymore. Garbage. With the garbage situation, Greg, I got lucky on that one. I went to get an oil change. I happened to be walking by Fort Pond, and I seen all this garbage in the water there. I said, if I wasn't walking, I never would have seen it. So I see some guy taking a picture of the pond. I said, let me get him. Let me see what this guy's made out of. I said, you're taking pictures. How about helping me pick up some garbage? He says, sure. He said, sure.
He didn't even hesitate. You have the thing about you to get people to do this stuff.
I was so stunned. I figured he would say, I'm busy. Oh, I got a job to go to. I got to do this. I got to do that. 3 days later, we're cleaning out that tiny little pond, bringing all that trash up to the side of the road. And so many people would blow their horns and give the thumbs up saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because a lot of people out here got 2 jobs, sometimes 3. You know, they don't have the time or even know what's going on. So now that I kind of see what's going on, Mark Cox, my friend, East Hampton Litter Action Committee, we all get together, they pick a spot, and we go to town. We go to town.
Listen, so I know you didn't start the East Hampton Cleanup Committee.
No,
Litter
they're different.
Committee,
They've been doing it.
But you energized those guys to come out here, and suddenly, and when I went over to do that video of you guys, you were the guy directing them all, and they were all following you, and they were like, yes, sir, Matt.
That's scary.
You know,
That's really scary.
they were all following you. They all loved you, and talking to Matt, and
Let him go out and fight with the ticks. Go ahead, yeah. Pick up some more.
yeah.
But 2 weeks ago, we cleaned up Kirk Park. And the 3 women I was with from the East Hampton Litter Action Committee, they live in Springs.
Yeah.
They don't even live in Montauk.
And you got them out here.
They came out and says, Matt, that park is dirty. I says, I'll be there. Mark and I, we spent 2 hours. We picked up over 200 pounds of garbage, you know. And what kind of hurt me is they're coming from Springs. Where are the people in Montauk, you know? Are they not aware of this? Maybe they don't know. So that's why I start filming it and putting it up, you know, on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then people say, oh, look at you, you're conceited. You know, you got the haters, you know, you're always gonna have the people that are jealous. And I'm not doing it for a pat on the back. I wanna show them, look, we got a problem here. The problem is the highway departments do not have the manpower. I talked to them. They'll stop and say, hey, thank you. I said, how come you guys aren't doing it? We do not have people to do it. It's like nobody wants to work, or nobody wants to work for that price. What, 18, 20, 22 an hour? You can't do that and live on the East End. So, guys like us, men, women, we volunteer to clean up a little bit. And I like to get it now, because once that grass starts growing, the town comes with the mowers and they just mow those bottles, the cans, the plastic, and it goes down.
Oh, really? That just mulch it?
Yeah,
Oh, it just
yeah,
goes
it's
down.
mulch. You
Yeah.
walk on the ground, you're looking at all, and it's just going, and like the environmentalists, you think they would say, wait a minute, we have a real serious issue here. Like this stuff is just concentrating, you can see the broken glass bottles and plastic and stuff. So what Mark and I do and the LAC, we get out there before these mowers try to hit it, but we can only do so much. My biggest problem is adopt a highway. They put the signs up, this business is cleaning it up for the next mile. They donate, they give the money to the state, and that's the last you ever hear of it. Who is picking up all of that garbage? The state's getting their money, there's no accountability. Do you understand that? So they got their signs up, but there's garbage all over that peak stretch, that whole length. If I was a business, I had my sign up there, and I'm going on that pig, I see that garbage, I'm gonna be upset. Yet it doesn't seem to bother these people. Thousands of people drive up and down that pig, they don't say a word. I can't grasp it. However, let's talk garbage. Let's
Yes.
talk garbage.
Let's talk, we got a couple minutes left, let's talk
Well,
garbage.
this is gonna be short. Okay, is everybody ready here?
Good deed doer, the guy's consciousness, he's always doing something that is helping our community. He can't stop thinking about things that will help.
Well,
I love that about you. I don't know, how did you get that consciousness? How did someone grow up and become
Because I
someone
grew
who's
up
just thinking of
poor.
all the things to do well
We
for
all
people?
grew up poor with nothing, and then it teaches you something. That other people may need help, so you help them if you can. You were talking about math before, so let me tell you about garbage trajectory from a moving car, throwing garbage out the window. Now, if you throw it with your left hand, a glass bottle will go 22 feet, a plastic bottle
Oh,
will
you
go
got
40.
stats on trajectories.
Yeah, these are stats.
We got stats on trajectories.
Now, I don't know.
It's something about the bottles going in, they throw the bottles going into town to hide them from the police, but on the way out, it's different on both
Yeah,
sides.
leaving its beer bottles and beer cans, coming in its coffee cans. So, I said, how far does a bottle go, how high could it go up? I said, wait a minute, this is geometry, this is algebra, this is real math. Like, Jesus, of course, if the bottle is half full or full. Because I kept finding these half full bottles. And I said to Mark, why do people throw out bottles with half the soda? He goes, that's not soda, that's urine from the workers. They wing the bottles. Like, oh my God. So what we would do, we just wouldn't pick
They
up
need
on
to
the-
bottle it and just, instead of just doing it,
and they throw it.
just do it in the
Throw
woods,
it.
they have to bottle it, well,
Yeah, at least they put the cap on it, because otherwise the wind, it'll come back.
I don't
into
know
the
why I'm
car.
laughing at that, it's disgusting. I'm laughing at it, but it's just disgusting.
No, but you find out these things,
yeah.
And you could do garbage aerobics, because it's such a workout, picking this up
Yeah.
and picking this up. And psychology too. Like say you're really mad that day and you're trying to get this can and you start beating it, and you got it. And you're thinking about that guy who cut me off the other day. I'll get back at him. I'll get back at him. You get it. And I got it. Boom. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, Mark's looking at me like, really? Really? Like, oh boy. Oh boy.
So if you want a nice new form of therapy, you gotta get in touch with Matt. How can someone get in touch with you if they want to volunteer for you?
You know what you do? Call up the Montauk Citizens Advisory Committee.
The citizen, not the CCOM, the Citizen Advisory?
Yeah, they're better off, because
Yeah.
we go to the meetings once a month with them.
Okay. Because really,
We could
anybody.
use volunteers, we really could.
This is a sterling individual, wonderful heart, great ethics, great values, and out there helping everybody. Matt Galcik. Matt, thank you for
No,
coming
you're welcome.
on, man.
You're welcome.
Loved having you here.
Thank you.
Talking about doom and gloom, but good deed doing.
You had a few
Good
laughs.
deed doer. Matt Galcik.